You're listening to Zoo Nation.
Ready? You have the cameras rolling?
Come on, man.
Welcome to Zoo Nation, where we talk about history as it unfolds and the political zoo of a nation that we're living in. My name is Josh.
I'm Nathan.
And, it's not often that I get butterflies before going live, but I'm about as nervous as Ghislaine Maxwell watching a warden change her sheets right now. It's just, there's a lot going on right now, and it's important to talk about because the important thing to remember about Trump's term so far is severalfold. But I think that the best way to begin is looking at his term overall. We want to talk about Trump. We also do want to talk about some other things. And the big thing that's on everyone's mind right now is everything going on with Epstein. I mean, yeah, didn't somebody die supposedly of suicide years ago and we're still talking about it? Is that your perception? It was always in everyone's mind, but then with the most recent events, it's become even more talked about.
Yes.
That's the way I see it.
Yep.
That's probably the biggest thing everyone's talking about right now. The only other thing I've seen has been some side stories, but the big thing right now is the Epstein stuff and how it's being handled. I wanted to begin this show just talking to you, asking you, overall, Trump's been in for 6 months now. We had a stream about the first 100 days. That went very well. I want to talk to you now and ask you, looking at now that we've had 6 months of Trump in there instead of Joe Biden was in for 4 years. What would you rate the Trump presidency and why? Out of 10.
Out of 10, probably about a 5 or a 4. 5 or a 4 out of 10. That's where I'm at.
Well, why?
Mainly, a lot of it is because of Ukraine. He really went out there in the debates talking about, I'd have the war ended, this, that, and the other, and talking about how he didn't want to necessarily send support, or not necessarily support, but just working the continuation of sending aid to Ukraine just for who knows what at this point. There's that. That's an issue for me. That's a big part. The pushing of the big beautiful bill, as far as the bill itself, there's things that are great, but the way it was pushed, and again, we've talked, a little bit as far as I do kind of hold him accountable. Yes, Congress was who pushed it through faster, but again, those are his guys, so to speak, or at least a lot of them are, in my opinion. There's a lot of stuff. And then also, I know the economy's not going to spike back right off the bat 100%. I understand Biden inflation and everything like that for sure. But at the same point, not a lot has changed as far as economy goes. There should be, at least in my opinion, a little bit of something, and I haven't seen much. So those are just some of the stuff. And then this Epstein thing, kind of putting icing on the cake for me, as far as just the way he kind of attacks people, but in my opinion, is some of his base about this of like, people wanting all the Epstein stuff, and it's just a Democratic, it's a Dem thing, and it's never really been a Dem or Republican thing, in my opinion. This has been, people have seen this as suspicious and odd and weird, however you want to say it. So yeah, those have just been some things. that have kind of affected my rating. I'm not saying that he's not doing, he's doing terrible or whatever, but I'm saying he definitely could be better and has been better in the past presidencies. So, yeah.
I understand. I think that the Epstein stuff smells about as good as Pepe Le Pew, the skunk. Really bad. It's not being handled properly. And it's hard to say to what degree is that Trump's fault, because I've heard some people make the argument, well, it's not technically the president's fault. It's the DOJ and FBI are supposed to be handling this. But then you got to say, okay, but who appointed people for those positions?
Exactly.
And then the question becomes, and this is kind of an open-ended question for the audience to consider, are these people going to stay in power? Because Trump appointed them. I mean, this was big news in 2017 when he fired Comey.
Right.
The president can fire the director of the FBI.
Yep.
So at any point, he can look at Kash Patel and say, nope, and have that iconic Apprentice catchphrase, you're fired.
Yeah.
He could do that. And he has the power to do that, the ability. The question becomes, will he? What do you make? I wanted to ask you this, and I don't think we even brought this up in the prep.
Yeah.
Do you think that the rumors that went around on social media for a while that Kash Patel and possibly Bondi were considering resigning, do you give any weight to that, or do you think it's just kind of idle chatter?
I don't think that anybody's going to resign or anything of the sort, unless if they do, I think it'll be one of those you either resign or we fire type thing. So so it looks better, as resigning. But no, I just think it's internet, talk. That's it.
Internet is not real life.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's a degree of real life in it, but it's very small.
Right.
There are people in real life who do use the internet, but a lot of people talk, and then the stuff in the real world is very different. And so we're going to be talking about all of that with you. Now, let me respond a little bit.
Yep.
In terms of the question, well, what would you rate Trump out of 10? I would probably give him a 5 as well. I don't know if I would give him a 4. When it comes to the border, I would probably give him a 6.
Yeah.
He's doing pretty well on the border. And in as much as the One Big Beautiful Bill had money in it for the border, that makes me want to give him a 6.
That's where I think you and I would, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're
but
good.
I think just a heads up, I think that's where you and I would kind of have an issue as far as the border. I agree he's doing good on the border. However, there are some flaws to that.
Sure, we can discuss.
Yeah.
To continue, but looking at everything else, I would tend to agree with you. Probably like a 5, maybe a 4 on certain issues, but I would just say a 5 overall. Because you got to look at, okay, if you're a 6 here, but a 4 here, I got to average out and say a 5. Because there have been some things that have been big mistakes. The Zelensky rhetoric, whenever Zelensky actually came to the White House, was really good. He said a lot of things that needed to be said.
Yeah.
However, since then, what's been happening has been a mineral deal, some natural gas discussions of a deal there as well with Ukraine. It's like, well, you're not really giving Ukraine an incentive to try to bring about this war. Right. And then the other thing is, too, is whenever Putin has done some strikes in Ukraine, he just kind of goes on Truth Social, and it just looks like a guy like wringing his hands like, oh, no, Putin shouldn't be doing this. It's like, but you didn't say you were going to do that, post things on Truth Social. You said you were going to sit down with Putin, sit down with Zelensky and say, look, this is the way it's going to be.
Right.
We are bringing an end to this war. He said he was going to do it in his first day.
Right.
And I told you before the election, I understand it's not actually going to be before he gets elected or right after he gets elected. It's probably going to take a month or two. It might even take longer than that. Right. Well, 6 months later, this war has not gotten any better. It's pretty much the same. Thousands of people are dying. It's really bad. You've got Slav versus Slav shooting each other in the streets.